This tank, the Panzer IV, once a symbol of German might and terror. But today, it's just a cold, silent skeleton of steel. World War II ended, Berlin burned, and the tale of the Third Reich concluded. Yet, a mystery persists. Where did all this metal go? Thousands of Panzer tanks, millions of Mauser rifles, and scores of Messerschmitt planes. Did they all simply turn to ash? Were they dumped into the sea? Or were they secretly stashed away for the onset of another war? A war that is perhaps still raging? Today, we will pull back the curtain on the incredible fate of these blood-stained weapons. And by the time you reach the end of this journey, you will realize that what you thought was over never truly ended at all. Immediately after the war, the state of Germany was chaos. Following the Potsdam Agreement, the Allied powers, the US, UK, USSR, and France, had the immense task of disarming a nation littered with millions of pieces of weaponry. Vast collection points were established where thousands of tanks and guns were amassed, but the sheer quantity was overwhelming, leading to immediate destruction orders. The primary fate for the majority of these weapons was the scrap heap and recycling. Nations like Britain and France desperately needed steel for post-war reconstruction. German tanks and guns were fed into colossal smelters and melted down. Ironically, new bridges and building frames across Germany and Europe were constructed using the very steel that had once driven the war machine. For items that were too difficult or dangerous to handle, particularly unexploded munitions and some tanks, the solution was simply disposal. Thousands of tons of German weaponry were scuttled into deep fjords, lakes, and the ocean, notably off the coast of Norway, making logistics simpler but leaving an environmental and historical time bomb. Not everything was scrapped. Some weapons received a second life. The Allied forces immediately seized German technology for research and reverse engineering. The designs of the Panther and Tiger tanks heavily influenced the development of future Cold War armor. Crucially, the technology behind the V-2 rocket became the foundation for both the American and Soviet space and missile programs, essentially accelerating the Cold War arms race. Advanced prototypes, including early jet aircraft and cutting-edge U-boats, were secretly transported back to the US and the Soviet Union for intense, classified study. The remaining reliable, mass-produced weapons entered the global surplus market. Being cheap, durable, and readily available, older German tanks like the Panzer IV and standard-issue Mauser rifles were sold to numerous countries, including developing nations and those involved in regional conflicts. For instance, the Syrian army utilized refurbished Panzer IVs against the Israeli army even into the 1960s. Even some Allied countries temporarily incorporated these assets. France operated captured Panther tanks and Stu-G assault guns in their own military forces for a brief period after the war. Meanwhile, a darker, quieter legacy unfolded in the underground. Many weapons were simply hidden in bunkers, forests, and fields by retreating German forces or civilians. These hidden caches continue to be discovered across Europe, especially in the marshes of Poland and Belarus. These weapons feed the illegal arms trade and satisfy the demands of private military collectors, meaning the machinery of the Third Reich is still exchanged, sold, and sometimes fired decades after its defeat. A select few pieces found their final resting place as museum pieces, serving as cautionary tales. Iconic German tanks like the Tiger I and King Tiger stand in military museums worldwide, stark reminders of the war's horrific scale. But the biggest irony lies in the German resurgence. While the military was dismantled, the intellectual property and the skilled engineers were not. Modern German weapons manufacturers like Heckler and Koch H&K were often built on the expertise of designers from the Nazi era. The fundamental design of the formidable MG-42 machine gun lives on in the MG-3, still utilized by NATO forces today. Furthermore, when West Germany formed its new army, the Bundeswehr, in the 1950s, it ironically stood as a defensive bulwark against the very powers, the Soviets, that had captured and copied its earlier designs. We've seen thousands of tanks melted, millions of guns sunk, and others sold off to fuel new wars. But did you notice the key? What was the ultimate fate of Germany's weapons? They weren't destroyed. They were simply transformed. Every Panzer that was smelted down became the foundation for a new German factory. Every Messerschmitt blueprint became the rocket science used by NASA. Every Mauser rifle sold fueled hundreds of smaller conflicts, so the real truth is this. What you thought was over, the steel of Nazi Germany, never truly ended. It simply fractured into two key components. 1. The physical component. It either melted down to become the backbone of the modern German economy or was sold off to become the fuel for global conflicts. 2. The intellectual component. Its technology and design were stolen by the Allied powers, becoming the catalyst for the Cold War arms race. The steel itself left German soil, but its legacy and its influence survive in every corner of our modern world. And that is the secret you've just uncovered. The end of the German war machine wasn't its death, but its rebirth. The beginning of a new world and new conflicts.